Now to our top story. California will become the first state to move toward phasing out gas-fueled vehicles for electric ones. Today, the State Air Resources Board passed a proposal that would require all new vehicles sold in the state by 2035 to be electric.
For a long time, gas-powered cars have dominated the automobile market. Almost every vehicle used to run completely on gas or fuel until recently, when a solid competitor was introduced into the market.
Electric vehicles, all the rage, very popular here in the Valley. California has a law requiring electric-only car sales by 2035.
With electric vehicles rapidly taking all the attention from gas-powered cars, most automakers have switched to the manufacture of EVs, including the famous Chinese automaker, BYD. What could this change mean for gas cars? Join us as we uncover how this could be the end for gas cars thanks to BYD. BYD's switch to electric vehicles. BYD has become the first Chinese car maker to announce a plan by which it will stop producing fossil fuel-powered vehicles known popularly as gas-powered cars. The last BYD passenger car without a plug rolled off the line in China at the end of February. Since then, everyone has built either a plug-in hybrid or a battery electric vehicle, according to Electriv, which cites several Chinese sources for its report. There was no official announcement from BYD at the time, but now the company has acknowledged the policy change, saying it is in line with strategic development requirements. In a statement for the local stock exchange, the Chinese automaker announced that it would now concentrate exclusively on new energy vehicles, which is the term the Chinese government uses to describe cars that have electric motors somewhere in their powertrain. Technically, that includes hybrids, what Toyota loves to call self-charging electric cars.
Toyota is going to migrate over to Tesla's charging standards. Beginning in 2025, Toyota's electric vehicles will install charging ports that are compatible with Tesla's charging system.
But the appetite for such cars among Chinese consumers is low, particularly since government incentives for them are disappearing. However, it has also been reported by the Shenzhen-based firm in a press release that BYD has committed at the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference to selling only new energy vehicles from 2040, but that's just the beginning of this sudden shift. At COP26, more than 100 governments and organizations signed the Glasgow Declaration on Zero-Emission Cars and Vans to end the sale of internal combustion engines by 2035 in leading markets and by 2040 worldwide. Among them, BYD, Volvo Cars, Ford Motor, General Motors, Mercedes-Benz, and Jaguar Land Rover were present to cast their votes in favor of this project. According to industry analysts, it makes sense that BYD is the first traditional Chinese car maker to say it will stop producing fuel-driven cars, as its NEV sales are strong and fuel-powered car sales are weak. Eliminating conventional gasoline-powered cars from its vehicle lineup is believed to have a limited impact on the company's sales figures. In February, BYD sold 90,268 passenger cars.
Recently, but it still beats estimates. BYD's sales last year surpassed the $100 billion mark, beating rival Tesla on revenue for the first time since 2018.
Of which 87,473 were NEVs, meaning 96.9% of all BYD cars sold that month had an electric motor in the drivetrain. The latest sales figures for March show 106,658 new energy vehicles were sold by BYD. 106,118 of them were passenger cars, and 540 were commercial vehicles. Gasoline-only sales were listed as zero in a stock exchange filing, but this doesn't mean BYD won't manufacture gasoline engines any longer. All those plug-in hybrids and any conventional hybrids will have a gas engine, and production of parts to support the company's obligation to support the needs of existing owners with gasoline engines will continue for the time being. However, Electriv says the move from gas-powered cars to electric vehicles was not completely unexpected. Last year, BYD CEO Wang Chuanfu told the press the general trend toward new energy vehicles replacing pure combustion vehicles is already set by the regulatory framework put in place several years ago by the Chinese government. He said at the time that the phase-out of conventional gasoline-powered cars would happen sometime in the future, without specifying exactly when it would take place. Wang also said he expects a long transition period from plug-in hybrids to pure electric vehicles. This may not be earth-shattering news, but it is one more sign the EV revolution is moving relentlessly forward, faster in some markets in China and slower in others in the US. Regardless of the pace with which EVs are taking over the market, it is happening nonetheless and accelerating as time goes by. Amidst all this, the Shenzhen, China-based automaker has announced that it would be turning its focus to manufacturing innovative battery electric vehicles, including high-tech battery electric cars and trucks and plug-in hybrids. However, BYD will continue to produce and supply the components for internal combustion vehicles to continually provide comprehensive service and after-sales support to existing customers. BYD plans to remain committed to building low-carbon and efficient green new energy vehicles and continues as a passionate partner in the fight against global climate change, but it doesn't end there. BYD latest update. On electric vehicles, electric vehicle giant BYD unveiled a new charging system in China on Monday.
Chinese EV company BYD, the company announced a new technology claiming it can charge an electric vehicle that's capable of peak charging speeds of 1,000 kilowatts.
Intensifying already fierce competition in the world's largest auto market and propelling it further ahead of rivals such as Tesla. BYD and Tesla have long been locked in fierce competition as the world's #1 seller of battery electric cars. However, BYD surpassed the American giant for the first time in the last quarter of 2023. After falling behind for part of 2024, the Chinese company ended the year selling almost 100,000 more cars than Tesla in the last quarter. But things appear to be looking way better for the Chinese company as they set to release yet another major project to keep them stable at the top. The Shenzhen-based automaker touted its system, dubbed Super E Platform, as being able to charge its latest models in just 5 minutes, allowing them to go 250 miles. To support the new technology, BYD plans to build 4,000 ultra-fast charging stations across China. If popularized, BYD's new charging platform represents a major innovation that could help transform the electric car market. By comparison, Tesla's superchargers take 15 minutes to charge and provide a range of 200 miles. At the launch event, BYD chairman Wang Chuanfu mentioned that the Chinese automaker's goal is to make EV charging as fast as refueling a gasoline car. Pre-orders for BYD's new models equipped with the latest charging technology began on Monday, with deliveries set to start next month, but that's not all. The Chinese electric vehicle maker, BYD, has also added an advanced driver assistance system for most of its models at no additional cost, catapulting its shares to a record high. Chinese customers can now experience the carmaker's proprietary God's Eye driver assistance system in models that cost as little as 69,800 yuan. Analysts said the move could further fuel a brutal ongoing price war in the world's biggest car market. Shares of BYD surged more than 4% to a record high, according to Refinitiv data, when trading in Hong Kong began on Tuesday. Previously, the Chinese company's shares were last trading at 330 Hong Kong dollars, but the figures have now risen way beyond analysts' expectations. According to BYD chairman Wang Chuanfu, who spoke at an event from its headquarters in Shenzhen on Monday, 2025 would be the first year of intelligent driving for all. Wang also previously predicted that high-level intelligent driving would become an essential feature in automobiles, much like seatbelts and airbags, within the next 3 years. Previously, the God's Eye feature, introduced in 2023 to assist car navigation, was only offered in BYD models costing more than $30,000. But now, things appear to be changing as the visionary Chang Fu aims to use his company to make Chinese people have a better and easier way of life. BYD ranked 6th in global car sales, with China's Geely Auto following in 10th, Wang said on stage, citing research from Kalianshi, a state-linked media firm. It also dominated the Chinese market, accounting for over 32% of total new energy vehicle sales in 2024, according to the China Passenger Car Association. Tu Le, founder and managing director of the consultancy Sino Auto Insights, said BYD's move puts their competitors on their heels because of the affordable pricing. However, Tesla, BYD's main rival, has released similar full self-driving features in the US for a subscription fee of $99 a month or a one-time payment of $8,000. It awaits regulatory approval to launch trials in the Chinese market, but Lei feels Tesla may need to rethink its subscription-based strategy when entering China. Besides Tesla, BYD's announcement is expected to put pressure on other Chinese competitors like XPeng and Geely Auto, whose shares dropped recently. At that same event, the company also announced its plan to integrate DeepSeek.
For BYD, this is yet another addition into enhancing its EV lineup and its integration of the DeepSeek AI.
The AI model from a Chinese startup that made global headlines recently with a high-performing chatbot that rivals OpenAI's ChatGPT into BYD cars. BYD is well known for its aggressive pricing strategy, and this might just be the company's ticket to finally winning the price war sparked by Tesla 2 years ago. Regardless of the constant competition between Tesla and BYD, the Chinese company appears to also be winning in another sector of the automobile industry. Stay tuned as we explore another exciting sector of the BYD automobile manufacturing industry: BYD's innovative hybrid technology. The dream of cars that can go 1,000 miles and more on one tank of gasoline or a single charge of batteries may soon become a reality thanks to Chinese car maker BYD. As reported by Business Insider, BYD has claimed its new hybrid powertrain system, which will be used in its Seal 06 DMI car, can deliver up to 1,250 miles before it needs any refueling or charging. That hugely eclipses the range of even the best EVs, since they tend to run out of power at 300 miles on average and 500 miles at the top end, and is nearly twice the range of rival US hybrid cars. By upgrading its hybrid powertrains, BYD can get the equivalent of 81 miles per gallon out of its new 5th-generation system, which will power 2 mid-size sedans. Also notable is the powertrain managed to deliver a record-low fuel consumption of 2.9 liters per 62.1 miles when its batteries are depleted, indicating efficiency gains both on the electric and gasoline side. Now, the downside here is that these cars will not likely make it far outside of the Chinese markets, so don't expect to see them eating up US and UK highways soon. However, they show that hybrid cars remain a very viable option for long-range and efficient cars, which could prove to be a solid stopgap as electric vehicle charging infrastructure and charging speeds continue to develop. But there's still more to know on this project. It doesn't hurt that hybrids cost less than their fully electric counterparts, and also don't give the issue of needing to find a charging station or a convenient spot to park up and plug one's car into an appropriate power outlet. Then again, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles are also arguably fundamentally just gas cars with all of the usual disadvantages, including handling and crash safety. Still, with the Chin-L and Seal 06 models starting from the equivalent of around $14,400, BYD is showing it can make affordable hybrids with impressive ranges, and thus could fire a warning shot across the bow of global car makers and their hybrid models. That being said, as Live Science reports, future EVs could be looking at ranges of 600 miles on a single charge, thanks to potential next-generation battery tech. If that comes to fruition, then we could see EVs start to leapfrog hybrids as people move away from traditional internal combustion engine cars. A leap this big in hybrid technology would boost an already fervent interest in these cars, with their impressive fuel economies, lower upfront costs, and mitigated range anxiety. The models are wildly popular with both automakers and consumers as a bridge between traditional internal combustion engines and fully electric models. Unlike regular hybrids, which require gasoline and are internal combustion engine vehicles outfitted with a small battery and electric motor to improve fuel efficiency, plug-in electric vehicles usually feature a larger battery, plus a charging port, just like battery EVs. PHEVs typically have an EV-only range of up to 40 miles, after which the ICE kicks in and they behave like regular hybrids, fuel-efficient gasoline vehicles. This means you can plug your PHEV into a power outlet every night and drive up to 40 miles a day on electricity without using a drop of gas. And since the average American drives less than 40 miles per day, a PHEV makes it possible to drive 100% electric every day. Regardless of its amazing features, with BYD planning to focus solely on making cars that won't pollute the air quality, plug-ins might just get fully upgraded, which would once again benefit BYD users and the company as a whole. Attempting to completely stop the production of internal combustion engines might appear as a huge challenge for BYD, but its chairman Wang Changfu has made it clear that it will eventually happen, and in the nearest future at that. With BYD chasing such huge dreams, will gas-powered cars eventually become a thing of the past, or will BYD fail to see their plan to the end?
Chikumbutsu's groundbreaking innovations, he calls it a self-powering electric vehicle.
This game-changing invention will disrupt the global auto industry, especially for electric car giants like Tesla. With billions invested in batteries and charging infrastructure, how will Elon Musk take the news? And will this new tech shoot Africa to the top of the automotive industry? Join us as we reveal the Zimbabwean invention threatening Musk's empire. Self-powering tech revolution from Zimbabwe. Africa is stepping into a new era of car manufacturing, and it's happening faster than most people expected. For years, the continent has been seen as a place where cars are mostly imported, with only a few countries assembling vehicles locally. But that story is changing. Countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa have significantly progressed in local automobile production. But something extraordinary is happening in Zimbabwe, something that could completely change transportation in Africa and worldwide. The catch is that Elon Musk is not happy about it. You see, while most of the world is pushing for electric vehicles, Africa doesn't even have charging infrastructure that is scarce. Electricity supply is unreliable in many areas, and the cost of lithium batteries remains high. So the Zimbabweans came up with something that will blow your mind. Keep watching to find out. Since there is limited electricity and weak charging infrastructure, Africans have found it difficult to embrace electric cars. But what if there was a way to power a vehicle without fuel or even plug it into an outlet? That's exactly what Zimbabwean inventor Maxwell Chikumbutso came up with. He has created a self-powered car without gasoline, diesel, or even traditional electricity. Instead, it relies on energy from radio waves. At first, the idea of a car powered by radio waves might sound unbelievable, but this is real technology.
An electric car which he says converts radio frequencies into energy.
The key to this invention lies in a revolutionary micronic energy device, a system that can capture and convert radio frequencies into continuous electrical energy. So how does it work? Well, it's quite simple. The car can generate power with access to these frequencies, eliminating the need for external charging or refueling. Unlike conventional electric vehicles, which require extensive charging infrastructure, this technology bypasses that limitation completely. This invention will change the face of African transportation in ways we could never imagine. Africans have always depended on fuel for transportation. Many African nations rely on imported fuel, which drives transportation costs and makes it expensive for people to move around. Even for those considering electric vehicles, Charging stations are rare outside of major cities, and the high cost of electricity can still make owning an EV impractical. But if cars could power themselves, all of these concerns would disappear. People would no longer have to worry about fluctuating fuel prices, power outages affecting charging, or the high cost of batteries. Aside from personal vehicles, this technology could transform public transportation. In most African cities, minibuses and taxis are the backbone of urban mobility. These vehicles operate daily, consuming large amounts of fuel and contributing to pollution. If self-powered technology were applied to public transport, it could drastically lower costs for operators and passengers alike. Taxi drivers wouldn't need to spend money on fuel, bus fares could drop.
Those EVs are well known for saving money on gas.
And air pollution in crowded cities could be significantly reduced. That's not all. The benefits would also extend to rural areas, where transportation has always been a struggle. Many remote villages cannot access gas because they are far from gas stations. Farmers often face challenges getting their produce to markets, and students sometimes walk long distances to school due to a lack of affordable transportation. A self-powered vehicle could change all of that. These cars could provide reliable transportation in even the most isolated regions without fuel or charging stations. Medical teams could reach rural communities more easily, businesses could expand their reach, and mobility would become accessible to a much larger population and economy. Africa spends billions of dollars each year on fuel imports. A shift toward self-powered vehicles could redirect that money into local economies instead. Manufacturing such cars locally would also create jobs, boost technological innovation, and position Africa as a leader in clean energy transportation. If the technology proves scalable, it could even turn Africa into an exporter of self-powered vehicles, which Elon Musk doesn't want to see. Remember, Musk has poured billions into electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. He believes that Tesla will dominate the future of mobility and clean energy. But Africa's breakthrough in alternative energy-powered cars, like Maxwell Chikumbutso's Micronic energy device, challenges that vision.
We have invented in Zimbabwe, it is called a microsonic energy device.
This scale at which this tech will change the world will surprise you, and that's where we are headed. Maxwell's invention and the rest of the world. For starters, Africa has been flooded with imported used cars for decades. Many vehicles on the continent's roads started their lives in Europe, Asia, or North America before being shipped off to African ports. Let's face it, these second-hand imports have been an affordable option for many, but they come with problems such as high maintenance costs, lack of spare parts, and environmental concerns due to older, high-emission engines. But Maxwell's invention shows that the tide is turning. Africa is no longer just a consumer of foreign-made vehicles. It's becoming a manufacturer in its own right. A new era is coming, where African nations are designing and building cars tailored to their needs, industries, and economies. Aside from Zimbabwe, other countries have emerged as leaders in this transformation. Take Morocco, for instance, which has a large vehicle manufacturing industry and exports cars to Europe and beyond. With production plants from international giants like Renault and Stellantis, Morocco also assembles cars and produces parts and components. The country's strategic location and trade agreements have made it a key hub for European car exports. Then comes South Africa. South Africa has a strong industrial base, and major brands like BMW, Volkswagen, and Toyota have operated manufacturing plants there for years, exporting vehicles to different parts of the world. But beyond foreign manufacturers, local brands like Mureza are beginning to emerge, aiming to create cars specifically designed for African conditions. South Africa's combination of skilled labor, established infrastructure, and government incentives has kept its automotive industry thriving and positioned it as a regional leader. If you feel inspired by Morocco and South Africa's achievements, the next country we want to reveal will blow your mind: Nigeria. Africa's most populous country is another rising force in vehicle manufacturing. With a rapidly growing middle class and an increasing demand for locally made products, Nigeria has taken bold steps to reduce dependence on used car imports. Companies like Inosan Vehicle Manufacturing produce cars, buses, and trucks designed to benefit the African consumer.
These big buses you are seeing here lined up, this is where they are all produced.
By focusing on durability, affordability, and easy maintenance, these vehicles address the unique challenges of African roads, which often include rough terrains and extreme weather conditions. The Nigerian government has also introduced policies to encourage local production, reducing tariffs on locally made vehicles while imposing higher duties on imported used cars. What sets African-made vehicles apart is their design, which considers local conditions. Unlike many imported cars that struggle with poor road infrastructure, extreme heat, and inconsistent fuel quality, vehicles produced in Africa are built for these challenges. For example, many locally made cars have reinforced suspensions to handle rough and unpaved roads. Engines are designed to run efficiently on the fuel type available in African markets, reducing dependency on expensive imported fuel grades. Some manufacturers also incorporate solar-powered features, addressing energy challenges in regions with common fuel and electricity shortages. The shift to manufacturing vehicles locally has created massive jobs, from factory workers assembling cars to engineers designing new models and business owners distributing vehicles across the continent. Thousands of direct and indirect jobs are being created, providing opportunities for young Africans to develop engineering, mechanics, and high-tech manufacturing skills. But there is no guarantee that Zimbabwe's self-driven cars will take over the market soon, and you are about to find out why. Keep watching. Challenges with Zimbabwe's self-driven cars. Zimbabwe is making bold moves, but like any revolution, challenges come with progress. While self-powering and locally manufactured vehicles are shaking up the market, the journey ahead is far from smooth. As the world moves toward cleaner energy, Africa is exploring multiple options. Electric vehicles have gained traction with companies in South Africa and Nigeria that are working on local production. But EVs come with challenges, such as expensive lithium-ion batteries and a lack of charging stations in many parts of the continent. This is where self-powered cars, like those developed in Zimbabwe, provide a groundbreaking alternative. Using radio waves or other renewable energy sources, these vehicles don't need charging altogether. Meanwhile, some African countries focus on biofuels, using crops like sugarcane and jatropha to produce cleaner fuel alternatives. With an abundance of natural resources, Africa has the potential to lead in sustainable vehicle technology without relying on foreign energy sources. The question is whether governments and private investors will push hard enough to make these options mainstream. The good news is that Africa's auto industry isn't isolated. Global automakers are beginning to recognize the potential of the continent's growing market. European and Asian companies are partnering with African manufacturers to set up local plants and production lines. We mentioned earlier that Morocco has attracted major investments from Renault and Stellantis, while South Africa remains a key hub for global brands. But as African automakers rise, the balance of power could shift. Local companies are working on cars designed specifically for African roads and conditions, making them more appealing than imported models. Foreign automakers may have to rethink their strategies if self-powered vehicles become widely adopted. Will they partner with African innovators or compete against them? That remains to be seen. That is not all. Despite the progress, Zimbabwe's self-powered vehicles may not reach the markets in large quantities. That's because of the supply chain. Many parts used in Zimbabwe-made vehicles are still imported. That means production costs are high and vulnerable to global disruptions. To be a real game changer, they must develop a local supply chain for key components like microchips and steel, but it requires significant investment. Talking about money, Zimbabwe doesn't seem to have much of it currently. The problem doesn't end with that. Many African governments have no plan to support the automotive industry and ensure safety and environmental standards. Most countries have outdated policies that make it difficult for local car manufacturers to compete with imports, so Zimbabwe has to develop clearer, business-friendly policies to help local automakers scale production and reach a wider market. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You will enjoy it.